Remember? That's how Michael Jackson did in his Jam tour in 1991. I was just about to go out and I'm like, oh, let's just shoot a video before I go out and buy diapers and formula. That's my life. So yes, today we are going to be shooting or doing shooting. I'm just in a silly mood today. So today we are actually going to be doing a Jupiter and Saturn mutual aspect. This is probably last of the Mohicans when it comes to mutual aspect, where planets are directly opposite to each other, 7 houses apart, as in 180 degrees apart from each other. Because I was like, well, let's do mutual aspect between Sun and Rahu, Sun and Ketu, but then that doesn't work because it's the same thing as Sun conjunct Ketu, Rahu as the axis. It becomes quite complicated. So today, yes, we're going to be doing mutual aspect of Jupiter and Saturn and what happens when they're both looking at each other. And if you want to know if you have this mutual aspect, what degrees it's at, because the tighter the degree, the more heavier the effect. And all your other planetary alignments, all your other astrological information. For that, check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including all my consultations here at this link. So, Jupiter-Saturn mutual aspect. What happens when they're both looking at each other? Well, first of all, what is Jupiter? Jupiter is your hopes and wishes, that broadening your horizons, your philosophical outlook, your religious outlook, your spiritual outlook. It's your gurus, teachers. It represents astrologers. Jupiter is finance, children, biology. Jupiter represents the 3 basic necessities of life: food, shelter, clothing. Kind of like the Amitabh Bachchan movie, Roti, Kapda aur Makan. And then you have Saturn. Saturn represents the working class, servants. Saturn represents restriction, boundaries, hard work, routine, repetitive work, machines. Saturn is a very serious planet. It's not more about hope. Saturn's not about hope. Saturn's about work. He's like, you want a hope? Go to Jupiter. You want that hope, whatever you're hoping for to come true, you better go work. That's what this does. And these are both, in my book, known as judicial planets. Very law-abiding planets. Jupiter is the one who writes the law. Saturn is the one who implements the law. So Jupiter writes the law, like, okay, this is the law that is the law of the land. Saturn takes that and says, all right, I'm going to implement it. He tells everybody in the city, all the senators, all the congressmen, all your local politicians, that, okay, this is the law, it needs to be implemented, It's like he does that administrative work of Jupiter. So whenever these 2 planets are looking at each other, what happens is Saturn looks at Jupiter. So what it does, it gives a person a very practical approach to their belief system, to their intelligence. They're not so much full of hope. They don't really think that everything is going to be fine and dandy, everything's going to be good. They're more like, well, it's going to be good if I do this, this, and this. And if I work 14 hours here, 16 hours here, 18 hours here, then yeah, maybe I can achieve what I want to achieve. But obviously, it's a far-fetched idea. They become more realistic in their hopes, more realistic in their wishes. Their spiritual and religious views becomes quite conservative because Saturn is a conservative planet. It represents the conservative class. So if you are, Republican, evangelical, you are, hardcore religious person who abides by a certain law, you're probably acting upon Saturn. Saturn is very strong. Because Saturn loves routine, repetitive things. Things are very practical, grounded. So these people love that routine, repetitiveness of their conservative outlook in life. That's what keeps them going. This is mutual aspect, is a great mutual aspect for people who has interest towards studies in law and government and administration. Jupiter, since it represents biology, Saturn represents mechanical things. So mechanical biology can be seen from this. Biomechanical fields are seen from this. Yet what happens is this person becomes very judgmental in the axis that this mutual aspect is happening. They're very much judgmental. If it happens in the 1st and 7th house, first of all, it shows your spouse will be older than you, far mature than you, and both of you have a very practical outlook. However, you, since it's happening in your 1st and 7th house, you will always somehow be judging your spouse on her action or his action. You'll be judging your spouse on what their belief system is. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And if they don't agree with you, you kind of start preaching them. Now, Jupiter looks at Saturn. What happens now? Saturn, as I told you, it represents those work ethics, your discipline, your organized skills, your structure. So Saturn now gets the hope of Jupiter that I can finish all this task. So you see how they both kind of just influence each other, where everything is just balanced. Where Jupiter was getting less hope, but now Saturn work is getting more hope. Jupiter is throwing its effect, imagine its beam towards Saturn. So Saturn is like, wow, if I work this hard, I can get all this financial prosperity. So what happens is with this mutual aspect, these people are kind of like, they work. And these two are very mature planets. And when these two mature planets, these gurus, look at each other, and especially in the 1st and 7th axis, gives you a very mature outlook in life. You're the kind of person at the age of 5 you were thinking like a 15-year-old. 2nd and 8th axis gives you very mature people, very hardworking people in the family. In the 3rd and 9th house shows your siblings and siblings-in-laws will be very mature, very much going by the book, very routine, repetitive in their motion. 4th and 10th house, you have very conservative parents. It's kind of like that 2nd and 8th axis. But 4th and 10th axis definitely shows that, conservativeness in the family with the mother and father. And Saturn, it represents restriction, represents boundaries. Okay, so if Saturn is alone, it's kind of showing us that, okay, this is what I should do. I should not go beyond this. I should only work. I should not do business. Now Jupiter is looking at it. Jupiter is throwing its effect on Saturn, as I mentioned. So now what Saturn does, Saturn person does, is that, maybe I can take a chance. Maybe if I just go a little bit, I might make it. Yet I know it requires a hard work, but I might make it. So you see how both of them are influencing each other in the same action. Jupiter hopes and wishes, says you need to work. Saturn work says you will do good if you work hard. So these are very hardworking people, very hardworking individuals, because they know that through hard work, their hopes and wishes will be coming true. They work very hard towards their children. Now, one thing you will have to understand, especially in a woman's chart, is that this mutual aspect can delay the birth of children. Because Saturn is a slow-moving planet, right? It takes 2.5 years. So in mythology, it shows it takes a long time for certain tasks to be finished. Because it's looking at Jupiter, Jupiter is a karka, meaning significator of children and husband. Things happen with a delay in a person's life, especially a woman. Yet you also get a very mature, very responsible spouse. In a man's chart, all the big celebrations that you have in your life, whether it's from your birth to your graduation, to your post-graduation, to getting hired by your dream company or dream job, children, marriage, all of these things take time. Because Jupiter for both men and women represents the grand celebration, those big celebrations that happen in our life. Jupiter is responsible for that. Because Jupiter is a karka of 2nd, 5th, 9th, and 11th house, which really control all the basic celebrations in our life. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of Jupiter and Saturn mutual aspect. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. Again, if you want to know where your Jupiter's place and where your Saturn is, all the planetary placements, for that check out the links here, and including all my reports, consultations, everything is at this link. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with our Sun in the 9th house for Taurus ascendant, because Friday is going to be an interview with Sunil again. Bye-bye.